The New York City Draft Riots of July 1863 marked a turning point in Northern sentiment toward the Civil War, exposing deep social divisions and forcing a re-evaluation of the Union's war effort. These violent uprisings, rooted in opposition to the Conscription Act and fears of racial competition for jobs, ultimately weakened public morale in the North, challenged federal authority, and highlighted the fragile nature of wartime unity. The draft and its discontents. In March 1863, Congress passed the Enrollment Act, the first federal conscription law in U.S. history. It required all male citizens and immigrants who had filed for citizenship between the ages of 20 and 45 to enroll for the draft. While the law was intended to fill the ranks of the Union Army, it also allowed men to pay $300 or hire substitutes to avoid service, an option available only to the wealthy. This rich man's war, poor man's fight dynamic incited outrage, particularly among working-class Irish Americans in New York City. Many of these individuals viewed the war as a burden unfairly placed on their shoulders. Adding to their resentment was the Emancipation Proclamation, which they believed would free Southern slaves who would then migrate north and compete for scarce jobs. The eruption of violence. On July 13, 1863, just days after the Union victory at Gettysburg, discontent exploded into violence. What began as a protest against the draft quickly turned into a race riot and a full-scale insurrection against local government and federal authority. Rioters attacked draft offices, homes of Republican leaders, and African-American neighborhoods. The Colored Orphan Asylum was looted and burned to the ground, a chilling symbol of the racial animus that fueled the unrest. Federal troops, many of them fresh from the battlefield at Gettysburg, were deployed to quell the uprising. By the time order was restored several days later, at least 100 people had died, and the city was left in chaos. Shifting Northern sentiment. The riots forced many in the North to confront uncomfortable truths. While the war had often been framed in terms of preserving the Union, the violence exposed widespread racial prejudice and class tensions within the Union itself. It became clear that not all Northerners were unified behind the war's evolving aims, particularly its emphasis on emancipation. Public support, especially in urban working-class areas, began to waver. Democrats seized on the unrest to criticize the Lincoln administration's policies, particularly the draft and emancipation. Some Northern newspapers echoed these criticisms, portraying the war as one fought for the benefit of African Americans at the expense of white workers. At the same time, the federal government recognized the need for stricter control and better public messaging. Efforts to bolster morale included recruitment drives, appeals to patriotism, and the suppression of dissenting media. The Lincoln administration also took steps to improve the fairness of the draft process and offered more substantial enlistment bonuses to volunteers. Conclusion. The New York City Draft Riots revealed deep fractures within Northern society and significantly altered the political and social landscape of the Union war effort. While the North remained committed to victory, the riots underscored the need for a more cohesive strategy that addressed economic and racial concerns on the home front. Ultimately, the events of July 1863 served as a grim reminder that winning the Civil War would require not only battlefield victories but also the unification of a deeply divided Northern populace.